Hello and happy Thursday. Welcome to another Lunch and Learn with Purse Strings. We are now in the beginning of June, starting off a new month. It's always a good time. And we're excited to have Erika on here to talk about cryptocurrency and to kind of see, if this is a good investment, how to even get started, get all these details that people ask all the time. We're going to answer all those questions here today. So for those who are new here, Purse Strings is all about giving you tips, tricks, pieces of advice on how to be financially fearless. And then when you're ready to start investing in crypto or working on, a budget, planning for retirement, buying a new home, whatever it may be, we have top tier financial professionals willing, ready, and able to serve you. We call those our Purse Strings approved professionals, and Dr. Erika is one of them. She runs Crypto Goddess, but I'll let her actually just introduce herself. So Erika, off to you.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure to be invited back to chat. So I'm Dr. Erika Rasure, and I am the founder of Crypto Goddess, which is a women's only community dedicated to help educate women about investing in cryptocurrency and other, Web3, or digital asset type technology, like blockchain, you name it. I'm a financial therapist as well and transformational coach. So I wear a lot of hats, but, a little background on, Crypto Goddess and kind of how that got started. It really stemmed from an interest I had, kind of a latent interest. I was like, wow, this seems like such an interesting space. And when I started, looking into learning about this, it was actually during the pandemic. And what I found was so much information out there that was so very high level and definitely not geared towards women. And so I say this because I have a PhD in personal financial planning, and I was a professor for 10 years. And for me not to be able to get it and understand it, I was like, and again, I'm not humble bragging or anything like that, but I'm like, I have this really niche set of skills and experience in education. I'm like, if I'm having a hard time understanding this, Maggie, like
how's the average Jane going to get there?
Exactly. And so that's really kind of what, propelled me on, really putting that in my back pocket initially and, chewing on it a little bit. And then last year, pulling the proverbial trigger on it and opening up the community and myself really as a resource to help women, get more comfortable with a space that is very, very unknown.
And that's why we're so excited to have you on today, is to kind of help us through some of that jargon, because I think that's what kind of keeps us out. And with our money, we're very hesitant of investing in something that we don't quite understand. But we also, don't want to miss the boat on a great opportunity, because trust me, we're not opposed to building wealth. We just really want to understand it. So I'm glad we kind of have an expert here to talk about it.
Yeah.
So just to kind of get started, we've heard a lot of crypto in the media before, and I feel like it's faded out a little bit. So what is kind of like the status on like the crypto market these days? Where are you at?
Yeah. So, the crypto market obviously has gone through multiple iterations of evolvements. Really, with Bitcoin kind of, hitting the scene back in 2009 with some veracity, right?
Yeah.
And, it's had its ups and downs, and we're really kind of coming out, and I don't necessarily want to say coming out of something called a crypto winter, which is a huge bear market. And it's been an interesting space to observe and be involved in, because that is certainly something I hear all the time is this safe? Is this worthy of my time? But Maggie, to your point, I get the fear of missing out. There's so much FOMO around crypto. Because, as we're looking at, just kind of the state of crypto, we've got a lot of different things going on. And when we look at crypto, I think crypto itself is also a bit of a catch-all term.
Right.
People use crypto, in the literal sense to describe, whatever coin is being traded, Dogecoin or Bitcoin or whatever, so there's that part of it. But crypto and the digital asset space is so much more broad. There are technical and financial perspectives to consider. And so when we're looking at, kind of the industry metrics and things like that, I think it's important that we not only look at, the performance of coins and projects and, kind of the base stuff, but also looking at things like, what's going on with, blockchains in
Yeah.
general. As of last month, blockchains have more active users and far more ways to engage. There's, I think, over 15 million active blockchain addresses, which has doubled over the last 2 years. And so while we might be seeing, kind of the crypto winter where we see the prices of things dropping or completely blowing up, there's that underlying technology, even with, decentralized finance and even like NFT activity where those things are rising again. We've got more developers in the crypto industry coming in. One of my favorite resources to look at, and just to kind of see like what kind of like crypto projects are going on, is CoinMarketCap.
Okay.
It's a great place, coinmarketcap.com. And you can get like individual, crypto coin data on it. So you can just type, it's like looking up a stock price. But what they do is they also, kind of indicate, how many crypto projects are out there. And I was looking yesterday and it's over 25 million. And that is up, a couple million just from a couple months ago.
Yeah.
And so we have people still entering the market, and, blockchains, there's plenty of new paths that are going, that route. And I think one of the things that's so interesting about crypto is often, we kind of think about just our immediate space in the US, like what's going on there, and the US is losing traction in like the Web3 development space. So the coolest thing, so I think the coolest thing about crypto in general is that it really does have that massive global reach.
Yeah.
At the same time, though, we hear these things like we had the major FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried's massive, exchange collapse. And he was one of the top 5 whales.
Right.
I don't know if you are familiar with what a crypto whale is, but those are the people who hold like the most Bitcoin. And, these were billions of dollars, but he had this ridiculous, Ponzi scheme of an exchange. And so we have these exchanges that are failing, major failures. We've got, Ripple, they're still engaged in, that lawsuit with the feds. There should be some decision handed down sometime in 2003. There's an announcement made last week that is closer than we think. That might be sometime in the summer. And that relates to the coin XRP. And XRP a couple of years ago was the first, kind of crypto coin that was really put under scrutiny by the United States government, the SEC. Is this a security or isn't? So that's going to be that, I think, to really kind of put things into perspective. It's kind of a game changer in terms of some of these rulings. And even from a tax perspective, if you file your taxes yourself, or even if you do it with somebody else, you are going to be asked now, and this has been true since about 2020, 2021, are you engaging in trading any cryptocurrency?
Right. Yeah. And so I think what's interesting really is when you take a step back, cryptocurrency is just one part of kind of this way you could invest money into the blockchain or into this third world. I'm not great with the verbiage here. But that's the thing, is like, where do you start? Do you start with NFTs? Do you start with crypto? Do you start with the classic Bitcoin? I mean, it's like, do you start with the stock market, or do you start with like, there's so many different moving parts, or an individual stock, like just to kind of compare the two, it's interesting to get started, because then it's like, you get into the universe there, and there's 1,000 different directions to go. So it can be a little intimidating.
Yeah.
So like, where do you recommend people either start, or like, what's the process to even maybe get on the blockchain? Like, where's like the starting point to dip your toe?
Yeah. And that's such a great question. And I think because we have those, putting my financial therapist hat on here too, and like I said, I've got so many of my clients are starting, and my coaching clients are starting to ask about, do I do this or do I not? Like, it's kind of scary. It stresses me out a little bit, but I also feel like I will be experiencing a huge sense of missing out if I don't invest in this. And I think that's something we need to really just kind of go back to the basics of generally good investment principles. So looking at, what is your risk tolerance?
Yeah.
What does that look like for you? How old are you? If you are, getting up towards 70, you know what? Maybe investing, in crypto might not be the best move for you.
Right.
But, we have so many like crypto adjacent type of products. There's a company called ProShares, for example, and they run a, Bitcoin and Ethereum like ETF. So it's to where you can still invest in crypto or blockchain or Web3 type of projects, but indirectly, and you use it as a way to diversify your portfolio.
Yeah.
And then there's the ways you can certainly get involved in it directly. And that would be, how I got started is I opened a Coinbase account.
Okay.
And what I did was, I listened to a lot of the, there's podcasts out there, there's a lot of YouTube videos. Reddit is active storm of everybody's opinion on every crypto project that has ever existed. And and then of course the companies themselves, they have their white papers, or often you go onto the website, they're called roadmaps, the project roadmaps. So just looking at like Ethereum, for example, they're the second largest, right behind Bitcoin, and Bitcoin is number one. Bitcoin, I would say, is really kind of the gold standard of the crypto space. And so if you're looking to get into this, if you went to the Ethereum website, for example, they've got things just spelled out beautifully. They just did a huge upgrade in September of 2022 to now where they're, proof of stake. And they've done this expansion to where their fees just aren't as much, and they're increasing their transactions per second, which is huge, because Ethereum has always been notoriously expensive to, do trading and things on. And so it's really being able to research these projects, look at their roadmaps, look at their plan for rollout, and see if that is something your financial values, your risk tolerance, your diversification goals, all of those things align with. And I think one of the really interesting things too is I do think there are a lot of, traditional, financial planners. I'm not a financial planner, but, in the coaching I do, what I'm finding is people are meeting with financial planners who are getting a little bit more well-versed in this realm. And so you can go to, for example, Fidelity has been, and this is a fun fact about Fidelity that people don't know, is Fidelity has been in the crypto game kind of under the radar for a number of years, because they have, and they have different funds to where you can invest just as part of your, regular kind of portfolio into, these types of projects that mean something to you, but also, reduce your exposure, reduce your risk, rather than, saying, I'm going to go invest $10,000 into a bunch of stuff on Coinbase. I kind of think I have a good gut instinct is going to do well. And that is something I really want people to pay attention to, is when you're getting a strong feeling, about an investment, it's really a time to take pause and try and think about what is driving this. Is it the fear of missing out? Is it, I read something on, Reddit that, really makes me feel like, this is great. You've got to really analyze that, because this is a particular investment area where it is super susceptible to that emotional anchoring that we want to make sure we're avoiding.
Right. Yeah. I feel like just cryptocurrency is filled with FOMO, because you hear about so many people who did, quick $1,000, quick $5,000, like it could all just land on us, which I'm sure if you do research this day in, day out, you might be able to figure that out. But a lot of us do have full-time jobs and kids and houses and different things going on as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, if you're just starting to, dip your toes in the water, and you want to open like a Coinbase account or a Gemini account or a Kraken account, there's some really key pieces that I want you to know about. And, one of those things is, the first is like choosing which cryptocurrency you want to invest in. And like I said, CoinMarketCap is a great place to go to get a sense of, who are our top coins. Where should I be looking at this? You're going to see Bitcoin, you're going to see Ethereum, you're going to see Litecoin, you're going to see, a bunch of Cardano's. ADA is another one. You might see Solana is often rather popular, but you'll be able to see, kind of these top ranked coins by market cap. And that information can give you a little bit of guidance towards, okay, well, these seem to be the projects that people are most interested in right now. I want you to be able to look at why those projects might be interesting to you. Now, when it comes to Bitcoin, that is a really great place to start.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what Bitcoin's price is today, but I'm going to guess it's probably somewhere around $27,000. And so for one,
Right, for full coin.
but you don't have to buy a full coin. And so what you could do is open up a Coinbase account and say, all right, I have $500 I'm going to put towards this.
Right.
I'm going to put 250 towards Bitcoin. I'm going to put the other 250 in Ethereum. And I'm just going to see how it goes. And there's nothing wrong with, putting your toe in and testing the waters.
Right.
Especially at those kind of lower amounts. And, that is something, I have a very kind of mid-level risk tolerance. And I'll be 40 this year. And that's when it comes to, crypto. I am very, kind of in the middle because I do recognize its value. I'm a big crypto supporter. I think that I have absolute faith that this is it has momentum. It's not going anywhere.
Right.
It's not. But at the same time, I also want to protect myself from doing anything stupid.
Right.
And so what I tell people in my experience and in what I've done is any money I invest on Coinbase, I just pretend it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But if it's those, crypto adjacent or blockchain adjacent projects that you are getting involved in, like through a Fidelity or, a ProShares type of thing, I don't necessarily want to call those safer, but depending on your risk tolerance, using my perspective, I would consider those, lower than mid.
Right.
You know? Yeah.
And that's kind of, honestly, a couple of years ago, during COVID, I was like, well, let's see, I have $200. Let's just see. And sometimes it's easier for me to like track the numbers instead of looking at what is it every day. Like, okay, what's my 200 at?
Mm-hmm.
Now it's at 250. Okay, we're growing. And then, it might be 300. It's like, oh, I should have put in more. Yeah. And then the next day you're back at 100. You're like, good thing I didn't put in more,
Yeah.
But you do kind of write it as like, I know at the end of the day, this is not the money in my emergency fund. Like everything else is set. This is just like play money, fun money, learning money. That you have to be okay with that you're not getting back as you learn, and as you become more familiar.
Yeah, and it's a certain familiarity. And, one of the interesting things about crypto markets is, they really do, at least for now, the price of Bitcoin really mirrors what's going on in the traditional U.S. stock market. And I think that's something that's really important to understand, that even though this is meant to be a, completely decentralized, no middleman, no hands involved, there are multiple cooks in this kitchen.
Right.
And because Bitcoin seems to follow that pattern, and because all other coins, all altcoins, so alternative coins, basically anything that isn't Bitcoin is an altcoin. And so Bitcoin really does drive the price of those altcoins. So whatever Bitcoin is doing is going to, it's the pattern is showing that it's going to affect the price of so many of these other altcoins. So if Bitcoin is doing really well, there's a high likelihood the stock market's up a little bit, and any altcoins are also going to be up a little bit. But if the stock market's down, Bitcoin's probably going to be down, which means all the other altcoins are going to be down. Yeah. And so there's some interesting mirroring behavior. And like I said, I think that goes back a lot to the regulatory efforts to centralize what was meant to be decentralized.
Right.
And I think that is a really curious thing to continue to watch. And I think that's my biggest piece of advice. My biggest takeaway is to pay attention to what governments are doing as it relates to, adopting Bitcoin, legislation and, kind of the restrictions that are being put around it. To me, it's not a big deal if, gains and losses are going to be taxed, because that's just the way our system works.
Right.
But there is going to be, so much out there that kind of makes it less centralized. I think that's when we could start seeing some interesting things happen in the crypto and digital asset market. And could very well take an interesting fork. And
yeah. And so the one story or the one thing I want to touch on is I feel like whenever you start investing in crypto, you make this super secret password that you have to remember and keep. Yeah. And these are kind of the stories that would come out, or people forget these super secret passwords.
Yes.
And so what is this
super secret password?
Yeah. So what is this kind of concept for anyone who's never dabbled? I know this is always a thing, and I'm kind of thinking like, I don't know where my secret secrets code is. It was so protected that I hid it for myself.
And that happens. And that is problematic. I remember there was a story that came out years and years ago that a guy had, purchased several
Right.
Bitcoins, and he had it on a hard storage or a hot or cold wallet storage, which was a hard drive. And I think he offered to pay, I don't remember what city it was, but I will pay you all the money if you let me go through to try and find this hard drive. So, and that does happen. And
Yeah.
he was obviously probably worth millions and millions and millions of dollars, but not really, because he basically
Only if you had your secret code.
So, what we're referring to there is wallet storage. And so when you are thinking of, opening up a Coinbase account or anything like that, you're really looking at, wallet storage that is attached to your account. So you can log into your Coinbase account with your username and your password, and that money is there for you, right? But it's not protected quite in the way that it would be if you had a cold storage wallet. And a cold storage wallet means that it is stored offsite somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so that usually comes with a separate type of wallet. Sometimes it's connected and more of a kind of cloud basis, depending on the wallet you're using. And sometimes that is an actual physical, like, hard drive.
Okay.
But you want to make sure that if you are using a wallet that requires you to have a passcode, I was actually doing this myself, and this was real funny, because I thought I was being really clever. So I was opening up an account on a wallet, and it had the secret password, and I screenshotted it,
Mm-hmm.
and it popped up like, "Do not do this." Like,
No, ma'am.
It was a no, ma'am. Like, what? Like, I felt very shamed at that moment. I was like, they know I screenshot this. I'm like, it's for everybody's safety here. I don't remember anything. And so it took me aback, because I felt very called out.
Yeah.
But from a privacy perspective and protecting your funds that are here, it's not a bad idea eventually to move your funds from, like, a Coinbase to a more secure storage. And so obviously don't screenshot it unless you can handle the fire of being called out for it, but write it down, keep it in a safe spot. Put it, if you have a safety deposit box, put it in there.
Yeah.
Write it down a few spots and tuck it under your desk. I don't know, do what works for you. Or write it down on a piece of paper and then take a picture of the paper.
They won't know.
Label your grocery list. I don't know. But that said, and I think this is really important to understand why your wallet choice is important. And wallet choices can be very intimidating. And that's why, it's often easier to start in, like, a Coinbase or a Gemini or something that requires your typical, user and password. But what can happen, and we see this when exchanges fail and your money is held with the exchange, if trading is suspended on that exchange for a particular coin or for everything, guess what happens to your money?
Goodbye.
It's still yours technically, but until trading resumes or there is some other thing involved that allows you to get that money out, you cannot. And that is the reason I actually ended up in that, like, screenshot scenario.
Yeah.
I was really concerned about the performance of one of my coins I had invested in, because there was and again, you track what's going on with the projects you're invested in.
Right.
Know what countries they're going to, what blockchain projects they're involved in, know where it's being adopted. There was a news story that had come out on this particular coin. It scared the crap out of me, because I was like, this can't be good. This seems like it's ripe for being stopped for trading. And I haven't heard of it. And so I was like, I want to make sure that this is out of the Coinbase exchange, because I could foresee it's being scrutinized by the SEC is what precipitated it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to take that risk of this money being where I can't access it and control it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's smart. Yeah. You got to keep, and I like how you mentioned again, you have to keep your eyes on these things. It's not a one and done or set it and forget it, and hoping that time, does its thing, because you never know, what the government might do, what the project's going on, where, what's happening in the country.
Yeah.
For being decentralized, there's a lot, everyone has their hand in, like, because they can.
Yeah.
Which is almost, it's just different.
Yeah. And there's a lot to lose too, and that's the thing I think we also need to remember is that, when we have these types of projects coming out, and the repercussions of it for our traditional finance systems are evident.
Mm-hmm.
It scares the people in charge. It scares the people in control, because
Mm-hmm.
this is bringing control back to the people. I hate to say it that way, but it really is. It's trying to cut out that middleman.
Yeah.
And we live in a society globally that middlemen really like their roles as middlemen.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so when there is new change, new anything, there is that fear on their end as well. So we might have the fear of missing out, but they also have the fear of, being eliminated
Right.
in a way, and that control, that wealth being redistributed. And that's a scary thing. And this is also the reason why I feel like this is in particular such a important thing for women to understand is, even in the crypto market, in this industry, it's still primarily male.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, is something where there comes just such great opportunity for us to build generational wealth by
Right.
integrating these products into our own portfolios, but also exploring it, and telling our moms, our sisters, our daughters, our nieces, all the women that are important to us, no matter what age they are. This is a time to get involved in this space. So if you're looking at things from a career perspective, if you've got a 17-year-old high school senior this year,
Yeah.
talk to her about, hey, have you ever looked into blockchain or Web3 or any of these types of things? So women can start getting their footing in it from even a
Yeah.
career perspective, and start infiltrating this space, because that is one of my fears, is that this space, just because of the data and statistics that are out right now, it's still very male heavy. And there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with men. I love men. They're great. But I don't want to see history repeat itself.
Yeah. That's a great piece of advice. And, something that I guess, I don't know if they're teaching college courses yet about these different things. It might just be your own research, which is totally fine, but just to think about these different things that are not out there, but in 10 years are going to be much, much bigger than they are now.
Yeah.
So if you can get in, closer to the ground floor, that's always better.
Yeah, and so many colleges are offering courses and whole degree programs
Yeah.
in computer science with blockchain,
Awesome.
emphasis. There's lots out there, but those spaces are so intimidating for women to get in, because they just are.
Yeah. We got
But
to lead the charge for the
yep,
next generation.
yeah, that's right, that's right.
Awesome. Awesome. I feel like we touched on a lot of great stuff today. Is there anything that we didn't touch on that you want to make sure is shared with our community?
Yeah, I think the last piece of this is just don't be scared of it. Welcome it in. It's here. It's not going anywhere. And
Yeah.
like I said, there's so much opportunity to get to know yourself, a different side of you as an investor. We're here to build wealth. We're here to build confidence. And this is a great way for you to start building confidence around this, even if you just start researching. I'm
Yeah.
not saying you have to invest tomorrow. You're not going to miss out. It's just getting started. And this
Yeah.
is just such a great time, especially if you're feeling some anxiety around it and you don't know where to start. Book a call with me or Investopedia the heck out of, and you'll see my name on a lot of Investopedia, like crypto articles, because, there's just so much education out there.
Yeah.
And it's really just a matter of sitting yourself down and be like, okay. And there's going to be things you don't understand. There's going to be words that when I first started, I was like,
Yeah.
what is a layer two? Like, what does that mean? And you're not stupid. You're not alone in this. And if anything, I find it incredibly courageous and brave to start showing yourself up on this. And it's fun. It's interesting. And like I said, you're just not alone in it.
You're not alone. So that's a great message. I'd love to, see how we can kind of build a community around women who are, taking part of this, because I'm sure there already is something great going on. Will you tell us a little bit more about your community quick?
Yeah. So, the Crypto Goddess community is really just a bunch of women who have an interest in investing in crypto or even learning about it. I would probably say that probably close to 90% of my community members are more just interested in learning about it.
Yeah.
they're not necessarily ready to take action. Some of them have, started dipping their toes in the water, but there are so many questions. There's so many uncertainties. There's just so much confusion around this. And, when you think about, just financial planning for yourself in general, like, how does this fit in? How does this fit in for me? And for some women, it doesn't. And I've had several women I've worked with who have been like, I can't wrap my head around it. And I feel like I should be doing it, but I also feel some resistance and resentment around that shoulda. And I said, then don't do it. What are the areas you're comfortable investing in? If you're more comfortable investing in real estate because the space, you're comfortable with it, that's where you should be.
Right.
Be in the spaces that bring you joy and fun. If you find investing in a certain thing really cumbersome and draining, that's a great indicator that this probably isn't the right investment for you. And that is also okay. And so my community is built up of a bunch of women who are on very different, journeys in life, different spectrums, different, availability of money to invest, and different places and where they are, and trying to figure out who they are as an investor.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you for coming on and sharing your expertise today. And I think you're so right about just, going with what feels good, go with the flow. If it's a lot of resistance, don't resist. Go the other way.
Go the other way, and I'm a big believer in, what's meant to be will find you.
Yep.
And so, you might be exploring the space right now and you're like, ugh, you get the ick.
Yep.
Don't go towards the ick, go away from the ick. And then at some point, what is meant to find you will pique your interest. And then you'll be like, okay, now I feel like a part of me is ready because this project is interesting. And I didn't have that reaction before, but I have it now. And so now I'm cool with it. And we're all on our financial journeys are much like our personal journeys. Everything is temporary. The good is temporary. The bad is temporary. And you just have to be able to be in tune with yourself enough to recognize those emotions and what's going on. And it's okay to say no as much as it's okay to say yes.
We're going to leave it at that. So thank you, Dr. Erika, for coming on today. Her email's been going through the bottom here. You can check out Crypto Goddess and reach out to her off of pursestrings.co. She's in our directory. And we'll be back here again next week. But I can't wait to see what everyone else learns from this. So we'll talk to everyone soon. Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.